Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this broadcast today. My name is Sonia Keeve, and I am the CEO and founder of Sisters with a Voice Podcast Network. And I help women entrepreneurs to get unstuck from thinking about starting a podcast to building, launching, and monetizing a podcast in just 30 days. And so today we are going to talk about a topic entitled 6 Ways to Prevent Burnout as a Podcaster. If you have started a podcast most recently, or perhaps you have uh, launched a podcast and you're seasoned and it's been some time, there are times where we as podcasters, we do experience burnout. And in those moments, you can feel like that excitement that you once felt of launching your podcast, or maybe you've been doing it for some time, you may be feeling like, I'm not ready to do this anymore. I want to get out of it. And so I want to encourage you today to stay in the game because I'm going to help you identify 6 ways that you can prevent burnout so that you can continue to be the amazing creator that you are. So, the first thing that you definitely want to consider if you are right now experiencing some burnout is number one, you really want to identify why are you burnt out. There could be some life changes or things that have recently happened that you are experiencing, and you're just, you know, over it, right? You are just absolutely over it. So, really, just take a moment if you're in that space to just really identify why are you burnt out? What is happening or what has happened that has caused the burnout? Because a lot of times you cannot fix what you don't confront. So, first, really identify why you are burnt out. What has happened in your life most recently that has caused you to feel overwhelmed and feel like you're not ready to go on as a podcaster? And that may be a great place for you to just figure out what can you eliminate, what can you get rid of. Sometimes, because I can tell you I have experienced that if I've had too much on my plate at one time, it can cause burnout. So for you, identify why you're burnt out. What is going on in your life in this moment that has caused you to burn out, and then identify what can you get off your plate so that you can continue to be the amazing creator that you are. And that leads me right into my second point of how you can prevent the burnout. Delegate your responsibilities. I know you are a creator, and so you feel like no one can do it better than I can. But what that leads to is burnout, ladies and gentlemen. So look at your whole production as a podcaster. What are some things that you can take off your plate and let someone else do? And that may require you to maybe invest in help. You might need a virtual assistant to help you with your scheduling. You may need someone to not audit, but edit your shows. I edit my own podcast shows, but guess what? That might be a responsibility you no longer want to take control over. So have someone else delegate that. Pay someone to edit your shows or schedule your guest. Um, Listen, if you need to, have a ghostwriter, somebody to, help write your content, but use your voice. It's important to delegate responsibilities because guess what? You cannot do it all. You are one person. And I know you might find yourself ready to take on that charge, but if it is putting you into a place of burnout, then maybe you need to reevaluate and delegate those responsibilities. Step number 3 of how you can prevent burnout: automation. Yes, ding, 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 ding. Automation is critical and necessary. I can tell you, take it from me. When I started my own podcast show, I was doing everything from scheduling to putting out the emails to vetting the guests. Maybe look at what are some processes that you can automate, put some systems in place, let the systems do the work. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about working smarter and not harder. So what are some systems that you've been manually doing for so long that guess what, you can automate? And also in that automation, you can schedule your shows. Did you know that? Schedule your shows in advance. So the way you can do that, just like you schedule your social media posts, guess what? You can schedule your podcast shows. So if you know, and the way to do that is batching your shows. So let's say that you have a show that you do once a week. Pre-record all of your shows for the month and then schedule them out to go out at a specific time on a specific day. So guess what? That way you're not finding yourself doing it all. The system is automatically dropping that latest episode, and guess what? You get to continue to be in the creative space that you are. So use the systems. Look at your process from beginning to end. What are some manual processes that you can now automate? Scheduling post is a perfect way to do that. Just like you schedule your social media posts, automate and schedule your podcast episodes. Perhaps you can schedule from an automation standpoint of vetting your guests. So one of the things that I like to do is when people subscribe to my email list, they automatically receive an email that outlines everything as a guest that you need to do in order to become a guest on my show. It gives them all the directions. And listen, I used to be someone who would get on the phone, walk them through the process, and I realized, you know what, this was burning me out. So now that process is automated for me. So when someone says, "Hey, I would love to be a guest on your show, Sonia," I send them a link. They subscribe to be on the show, and when they subscribe, they automatically receive an email with everything they need to be a guest on the show, and that vetting process is happening automatic. So use systems. Automation is key. Number four, of preventing burnout is change the flow of your show. And when I say change the flow of your show, perhaps as a podcaster, you have come in and you were a solo style podcast. Well, guess what? The next week, change it up a little bit, interview a guest, and utilize their expertise to help drive the topics. Because sometimes believe it or not, we can get tired of hearing our voices over and over again. Yes, I tell people all the time, do a sound check, you do a pulse check. Can you stand to hear the sound of your own voice? And if you can, then guess what? Change up the flow. Change the flow so that way, if you start off as a solo style podcast, then flip it the next week and interview a guest. And then, hey, if you really want to get cute and fancy, flip it again and do a red table talk, have a panel discussion, but change up the flow. You're not limited to one style. Change up the flow. Sometimes, I have to do that. Sometimes I will change up my look from one day to the next. For people who follow me, honey, one day I'll have long hair. The next day is short hair. Honey, I will flip it. Do the same thing for your podcast shows. Flip it. Don't do the same thing all the time. That will help prevent burnout, because sometimes you can't be creative when you're doing the same thing over and over again. Number five, to help prevent burnout, reset your goals. What were the goals that you had for your show? Guess what? Those goals can change as life changes. Don't be so set that the same goals you set 5 years ago will still be applicable to today. It's okay to change goals, because you might change direction for your show. You may even change the flow for the show, and then just decide what are some new goals that you want to set for your podcast, and set quarterly goals. I love quarterly goals, because it gives you the opportunity to have a more focused mindset on what it is you really want to do. How do you want your show to be to get more visibility, to get more credibility and profitability? So reset goals. And it's okay to change goals, because what worked 5 years ago won't work today. And heck, it may even change tomorrow. But if you have a path and roadmap of goals that you can set, create some action steps around those things, because that can help prevent burnout. And a lot of times you might also realize your audience changes. Who you were serving 5 years ago, it might be very different today. So, look at your goals. And if you find that what you set is not really working for you and is putting you into a place of burnout, then let's do a reset. We have goals that we set every January of the new year. You might have to do the very same thing for your podcast show, but it will at least help you prevent that burnout. And then last point in in preventing burnout is keep learning. Never devalue the power of learning. My grandmother, who is 100 years old, God bless her soul, still here on earth with us. She taught me as a little girl, never stop learning. Knowledge is power. She said, if you're always learning, then guess what? You're always going to be growing. And in this space of podcasting, things are always forever evolving and forever changing. And so to prevent burnout, you've got to evolve and change with the times. I know change is hard for some people. But if you don't want to be in that place where you're no longer joyful about being a podcaster, then you guess what? It's always good to learn new things. So never discount the power of learning. Attend conferences, get with thought leaders. Guess what? If your podcast show is not to the level of where you hoped it to be, then perhaps you need to get under the tutelage of those that you admire, that are where you want to be, and learn from them. Get best tips, practices. Guess what? Because we don't know it all. Heck, I don't even know it all. And I've been doing podcasting for 4 years. And so there's always new things that are learning. There's new systems that are coming out. There's new platforms. So we're always learning and evolving. And so never discount that power of learning. And when you do these things, I can tell you, you will prevent burnout. So just to do a recap for those that may catch this in the replay, is 6 ways to prevent burnout is: number one, identify why are you burnt out. Number two, delegate your responsibilities. Number three, automate your systems. Number four, change the flow for your show. If you started out as a solo style podcaster, mix it up, interview a guest, mix it up, have a panel discussion. Don't stay in one style too long, because sometimes for some people, they need to do that change. Number five, reset your goals. Whatever you set in the beginning when you became a podcaster, guess what? It's always good to have new goals to reach for, and it will prevent burnout. And then number six, never discount the power of learning, because when you're learning, you're forever growing. And those who have a different perspective for where you want to be, that can help you get more creative ideas, so that you are not only getting the credibility, but more visibility, and more importantly, the profitability for your business. And so I hope that these 6 tips really help you reevaluate what's going on with your show, so that you can continue to be the amazing podcaster that you are. And so, of course, if you are someone who is like, well, Sonia, these were some great tips, or perhaps you're someone that's like, I'm really ready to launch a podcast. I'm really ready to step into a new space, and be an amazing podcaster because I'm an amazing creator, then I would like to invite you to my next podcast cohort, which will be happening on Sunday, August the 7th. I'm only taking 10 amazing creatives. And so I want to help you get unstuck from thinking about starting a podcast to building, launching, and monetizing in just 30 days. You will get everything you need from nuts to bolts, tools, resources, and your equipment so that you can create and launch an amazing podcast that gives you the visibility that you're looking for, that gives you the credibility, but more importantly, the profitability. And so if you're interested in learning more about how you can enroll in my next cohort, please inbox me so I can send you the registration link, because remember, I'm only taking 10 amazing creatives and I want you to punch your ticket to secure your spot today. So thank you so much for watching this broadcast. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are, and don't let life get in the way from you being the creative person that you are. Take these 6 steps to heed. You put them in your life and watch how you can be in a space where you're being more creative, but more importantly, you're staying in the space of being the amazing podcaster or future podcaster that you are. My name is Sonia Keeve, CEO and founder of Sisters with a Voice Podcast Network, and I help women entrepreneurs to build, launch, and monetize a podcast in just 30 days. Share this broadcast with someone you know could benefit from this information today. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. Take care.